Thank you, Vasudev and Vani. It's nice to be back. And I would just like to share whatever I have felt with all of you, mixing up, as Vasuji already said, bit of science and spirituality. Thank you so much for this opportunity. So before I start, we'll just pray. Om Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwara Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sadashivasamarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Shrutismriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpadam Shankaram Lokashankaram. The topic I've chosen for today's presentation is ultimate reality, and everyone searches ultimate reality. There's always a quest to find the truth, that is the absolute truth, which we call as ultimate reality. The quest is going on everywhere with everyone in their own way. Scientists are trying to do their best to understand the mysteries of the universe, the planets, stars, comets, etc. They all are wonders in nature. The enigma in the microcosm and macrocosm created curiosity to unravel the mysteries of the universe. So, physicists, biologists, psychologists, philosophers, all of them are in search of finding the substratum of this universe. So, coming to what is reality? Reality is nothing but it is the aggregate of everything that is real which exists within a system. And the term is also used to refer to the ontological status of things. And philosophers commonly define reality as a substance that actually exists in an external world. There are two types of realities. We can differentiate them as objective reality, that is, whatever we see around, the external world of physical objects, the events, and the forces that can be observed, measured, and tested. All of them are together known as objective reality. There's something else called subjective reality. So, depending on the influence, the person's own uniqueness influences the perception of the world around us. Since the person is the subject, we call this as subjective reality. And it is very personal, and what I experience when I see something may be different from what you all experience, that we call as subjective reality. So there is a branch in physics, or there's a branch in philosophy rather. It's called metaphysics, which always deals with the fundamental nature of reality. And it is the first principles of being, the identity, change, space and time, causality, necessity, and so on. All of them together is studied under metaphysics. So, just take an example of a beautiful flower. As we are walking in the garden, we see a beautiful flower. So, a scientist sees a flower, a poet sees a flower, an artist also sees a flower, and many more people see the flower, but each one's response to that flower is entirely different. For example, an artist looks at the flower, then he immediately goes home, starts painting the beauty of the flower. Suppose a poet has seen the flower. What he does is he composes a beautiful poetry. But if a biologist see, if a botanist see that, he wants to know what is the speciality of this flower, to which genus the flower belongs, to which species it belongs, and all the other characters of flower the botanist want to see. If the philosopher looks at the flower, then he says, He says, oh, what a beautiful creation, what a divine creation. God must have created that. This is how each one responds in a different way when we look at a flower. So, whenever we consider this reality, there was a study going on at Greece when Aristotle, Plato, Socrates, and many more people they came up with different concepts of this reality. So, according to Plato, what is ultimate reality? He said that in domain that can only be accessed to the intellect, a realm of ideas that transcends the physical reality is ultimate reality. That's what he said. Whatever is appealing to the intellect, whatever the intellect can comprehend, and whatever it expresses, he called that as ultimate reality. Whereas Aristotle said whatever in his ethics, Aristotle's ethics, he said that it's only becoming an excellent, a person can become only excellent and can be happy only when he uses his, along with the intellect, he also uses his potential to the fullest extent. So that's where he differentiated efficiency with respect to the effort also. So when you put an effort, you become an efficient. And when you apply this and use your intellect, then use your potential to the fullest extent, you will be happy and you will also be a blessed person. This is what is Aristotle's philosophy. So, like that, many more philosophers they gave their own definitions for ultimate reality. Since we are all talking about reality and also objective and subjective reality, it's very necessary for me to mention about the objective reality. In other words, what science has felt about the reality. For a long time, it has been thought that the laws of nature appear perfectly tuned to, and nature is tuned to set the conditions for life to flourish. And all the stars, planets, galaxies, and all of them are in their own places because of the gravitational force, because of electromagnetic force and nuclear force, and so on and so forth. The entire universe is finely tuned. So they came up with so many theories, and also they said these theories, whatever they explained, they were working for certain range, but some of the theories were not working for certain range. So as a result, what happened is a theory which was accepted at some point of time, after a new theory came up, the theory was a sort of a discarded theory. So as a result, what happened? There were many theories to explain the orbital motions of the moon, the planets, the asteroids, and also the solar system. And it describes how the stars move around the galaxies and also allow to predict how to send a rocket to the space and so on. All of them were discussed in various theories. But all our scientific theories are provisional. You cannot say that this is the best theory, this is the only theory that is available because tomorrow some other scientist will come up with a better theory and he refutes all the other previous theories. Then you cannot say the previous theory was a reality because a new theory has come up with a new concept. So, this is how we find that all the scientific truths, whatever we call, they're all provisional, and we must recognize that they're only models of approximation of reality. And all our current held scientific truths, from the standard model of elementary particles up to the Big Bang theory, or the dark matter, or black holes, etc., they're all provisional. Recently, I was just going through an article where James Webb Telescope recently it was launched and it is coming up with shocking truth about the universe and also about Big Bang theory and so many other things. Therefore, Every day, new theories are coming up to explain the phenomenon that is happening in the universe, the enigma in the universe, and so on. Therefore, the scientific theories, they are not absolute truths, but approximate provisional ones. No experiment can even prove that a scientific theory is true. We can only demonstrate its validity either extends or fails to extend to whatever regime we test in. The failure of a theory is actually the ultimate scientific success, an opportunity to find even a better scientific truth to approximate reality. It's being wrong in the best way imaginable. So whenever I used to explain certain theories in quantum chemistry and so on, I would come up with so many theories. And in one class, suppose I describe two theories and say this is the best theory available. In the next class, I would refute these two theories and come up with a new theory. And then the students would ask, if the previous theories are discarded, then why should we study all these theories, ma'am? Is it not a valid question? That is really a valid question because, as I've already said, the failure of a theory is actually the ultimate scientific success because we need to know how the evolution has taken place in all the theories and how there is an evolution of thought and concept so that we come to the best possible theory in this in science. So this is what is happening in physical world. Then coming to the origin of the universe, many theories have been proposed in order to explain the origin of the universe. So, as already all of you know, Big Bang theory is the best possible theory that has been explained till now. So, how did the universe come into origin? There are many theories which say Earth was, I mean, the universe was undergoing inflation, means there was an expansion, contraction. Because of that, so many phenomenal changes happened, and there was formation of clouds, and all the matter was condensed, all the electrons were condensed, atoms were condensed, so on and so forth. And within the galaxies, many changes happened, including our Milky Way galaxy, and the pressure caused gas and dust to form distinct clouds. And there was they say there was pouring of rain for years and years together to form ocean and so on. And in that aquatic medium, that is water medium, life got originated. And this is what the theory says as far as origin of life is concerned. And there was this very good right forces, gravitational attraction, caused the cloud to condense, collapse. And this is what happened in the early part of the origin of the universe. But according to standard Big Bang model, the universe was born during a period of inflation that began about 13.8 billion years ago. Like a rapidly expanding balloon, it swelled from the size of a uh, smaller than an electron, I would say, and to nearly its current size within a tiny fraction of a second. Initially, the universe was permeated only by energy, but some of this energy concealed into particles which assembled lighter atoms like hydrogen, helium, etc. And these atoms clumped first into galaxies, stars, and so on. And the theory goes on like that. But there are things about this story that make sometimes scientists uneasy. They wouldn't accept Big Bang theory also. For starters, the idea that the universe underwent a period of rapid inflation itself is very, they say it is just an assumption or it's only a story. And they also question how did the mysterious form of energy in the universe beginning that has long since been disappeared and how exactly the inflation happened and what made the universe to go undergo inflation, contraction, and so on. And these are the questions which are not still answered properly. And inflation, though it is an extremely powerful theory, Yet we still have no idea what caused inflation. They also talk about variation in the energy and so on, but it is still not been explained properly. So they say it is not a correct theory. Therefore, the next theory that replaced this was the another theory or idea called bouncing cosmology. What they say is the universe was born not just at once, but possibly multiple times in endless form. And also, they say the universe is ageless and it is self renewing. It is a prospect perhaps even more awe inspiring than a universe with definite beginning and an end. But even the oldest ones are like short lived fireflies, and these theories are also not completely accepted. The Newton's concept of absolute motion yielded several mathematical formulae for planetary movement, but these mathematical formulae do not deal with actual facts. All of them deal with a mental supposition. They say you can describe everything mathematically through an equation. Will it hold good practically? That was the question. But is it within a certain range or is it universal? This question was not answered. Therefore, this mathematical supposition also it is about there is only one body moving alone in absolute space. For example, if you take a mathematical formula, what happens is there is only one body that is moving around and the mathematical equation is given only to that. But in the universe or solar system, there's not only one body that is moving, it is surrounded by so many other bodies. Therefore, this theory is also not valid. But anyway, coming back to uh, the how the philosophers thought about this. I know this is bit of physics what I explained, but anyway, don't bother too much about the contents. But what I would like to say is when you talk about objective reality, what happens is each theory that was supposed to be the best theory is now invalid and you have come up with a new theory, meaning that it's not possible to understand the ultimate reality through all these scientific theories. That is what I would like to sum up. Then, how did the universe begin? So this was explained long ago and it was called Vedic atomic theory. I think all of you must have heard of Acharya Kanada, who probably lived somewhere in 600 BC, and his actual name is Kashyapa. So what Kashyapa did was once he went on a pilgrimage to Prayag. So on his journey, when before reaching the temple, he saw the devotees were spreading flowers and also rice grains all over before reaching the temple. And this was a strange habit of those people. Then Acharya Kanada, he started picking up each grain of rice and he put all of them, he collected all of them. And people were asking him, why are you collecting all these? Why are you collecting the rice grain? Then he said, whenever you're throwing each grain, when I collect it, it becomes a morsel of food for somebody. And when many more morsels have been collected, that becomes the food for the family. Since he was collecting every kana of rice grain, people called him Kanada. Means he was collecting every grain of rice. And he was the one who gave the concept of Anu or Paramanu. That is how he wanted to explain the entire universe based on his concept of Vedic atomic theory. So, what did he say is you start dividing everything until you get the tiniest mass, tiniest particle, which cannot be further divided. He called that as Paramanu. He took the example of air, water, fire, and so on, and he explained, called them as paramanu, which joined together and they became universe. He said these are all sufficient to explain the origin of the universe and so on. So the school founded by Kanada explains the creation and existence of the universe by proposing atomic theory. And he also said that everything can be subdivided, but this subdivision cannot go forever. And he also said that he used these ideas with the concept of self also. And he used this to explain how all these principles make up the universe. And it was called Nyaya School of Hindu Philosophy. It was associated with, it was called Vaisheshika. So Kanada speaks of six properties, that is Padartha, and he said all these six Padarthas are very important to describe the concept or describe the origin of the universe. And this, he is probably called the father of atomic theory about 2500 years ago. But later on, the disciple of Socrates, what he did was he was watching the ocean one day. Then he said, he thought, if I keep on dividing this water in the ocean, what do I get? I get 2 parts, 4 parts, 8 parts, and so on. Then I get the tiniest drop, which I cannot divide further. So in Greek, he called it as atomos, meaning indivisible. So he gave that concept. They say he was influenced by Kanada's Vaisheshika and Paramanu Vada. Of course, we don't have evidences for all that anywhere mentioned. This is what it says. But later on, when the atomic theory was proposed, it was Dalton who carried this concept further. And after that, many theories came forward to explain the concept of an atom, how the electron behaves, is it a particle, is it a wave, and so on. All of them were explained until we came up to the modern physics and other theories. So, what I would like to say here is the Paramanu concept was given long ago to describe the origin of the universe. But Paramanu doesn't mean what we study in atomic theory today. That Paramanu is different, and the concept of Paramanu given by Kanada is a bit different. But anyway, this theory of Kanada was not acceptable because of many limitations of Kanada's theory. But later on, many more philosophers came up with their ideas in order to explain the origin of the universe and also what is reality and so on. And the biologist who wanted to know the absolute reality or if there is any reality in the system, why they were so fascinated by that is once I was reading an article on discussion between a biochemist and also another person, a philosopher probably. When they were discussing, the philosopher asked him, you say food gives energy, how do you explain the release of energy from the food? Then this biochemist, he explained the process of digestion, the process of assimilation, etc., etc. Then he said, whatever we eat, it is ultimately reduced to a smallest particle that would get into the cell and that would give us energy. He explained everything in detail. But ultimately, when it came to synthesis of energy, this biochemist got stuck up because the philosopher asked, you say there is a driving force that results in the synthesis of energy from the food that we eat. Can you tell me what is the driving force? So biochemist got stuck there and he was not able to explain What is the driving force that is responsible for the synthesis of energy in the cell? In the cell, there is another organelle which for us to carry out all these activities. So, this is again the limitations of the theories. Of course, the person who explained this theory, he got Nobel Prize for explaining how the food gives energy in the cell and also in the organelle of the cell. But beyond that, they were not able to give an account of what is the driving force that is responsible in making this energy in the cell. So, like that, if you again go to the cell, in the center of the cell, there is a nucleus, and all of you have heard of DNA. All of you are very familiar with that. They say it is the genetic material which carries all the impressions, genetic impressions, and all that. But even today, we are not able to understand the samskaras or the vasanas that we get as the philosophy says. They say whatever you are is a product of your genetic imprints and also the environment that plays a very important role in shaping up your personality and so on. But if you go to the details of that, if all the characters are in DNA, how is this expressed? We still are not able to understand how this is manifested as our traits in the in biology. Like that, if you take several examples, we have gone up to the door of Vedanta, but we are not able to explain all these phenomena with respect to many of these say phenomenon that happens in the biological system also. And also there are many more theories that are not able to give us the correct picture of whatever is happening. So in other words, we are talking about all of them in a superficial manner, but we are not able to go into the depth of all these phenomena. Therefore, the modern physics, whatever uh, we talk about, the natural philosophy of atomism appeared in several ancient traditions, but the Panchabhutas, how they are involved in the formation of the universe and life, the science was not able to explain. They say the body is made up of Panchabhuta and all that, but we are not able to explain all of them. Now, coming to psychologists, what would they say? They have gone little bit ahead to explain the reality. So, for thousands of years, the study of human consciousness was largely the work of philosophers. But since once the psychology was established as a discipline separate from philosophy and biology, the study of conscious experience became one of the first topics studied by early psychologists. Research on consciousness has focused on understanding the neuroscience behind our conscious experiences. Therefore, scientists have even utilized brain scanning technology to seek out specific neurons that might be linked to different conscious events. Therefore, consciousness refers to the individual awareness of our thoughts, memories, feelings, sensations, and our environment. So many of you have been doing several practices to increase the awareness. For example, say we are doing Ashtanga yoga practice. We may be doing pranayama. We may be doing meditation and so on. All of them will increase our awareness. And some of you are may be doing reiki and pranic healing and so on. All these practices will help us in developing our awareness. So what happens here is we are in touch with the energy of the universe. As a result, you are able to draw energy from the universe. One simple experiment, what you can do is when you rub your palms, and when you rub your palms and keep it open to sky, after some time, you feel a sort of tingling sensation in the palm. So this will show that you are getting the energy of the cosmos. So with more and more practice, what happens is the body becomes more and more aware of the subtle energy. Why the subtle energy is very important is whatever the feelings that go through us, whatever the thoughts that go through us, we should be able to pick them up very easily. This is what is the importance of becoming more and more aware of what is happening, because the microcosm itself is a universe. So it's a one prapancha itself. As a result, what is happening inside us, we may not be aware of it. And once you become aware of everything that is happening, if a thought passes through your mind, your brain, immediately you're able to catch it up. Is it a good thought? Is it a bad thought? Is it a positive thought? Is it a negative thought? Everything you're able to catch hold of it. Same way, if some emotion pass through, we will be in a position to go understand what emotion is going through me, and is it good for me or not good for me? How can I process it? All these will be very helpful. Why I am talking about all this is in order to understand the absolute reality, all these are the steps. This will lead us to chitta shuddhi. That means the mind becomes very pure. The energy blocks are removed, the body becomes very sensitive, the mind becomes sensitive, and we are able to respond to the subtle energy that is around us, and the subtle vibrations that happen in the body, we are able to feel it and experience it. Therefore, the pranayama that we do, the deep breathing itself, is so important. It activates all the other neurons in the body. There is a nerve called vagus nerve, which goes at the back of our brain. And that vagus nerve is connected to every organ of the body. When we do deep breathing, take sufficient prana inside, what happens is the vagus nerve becomes very active. And this vagus nerve now sends that prana to every organ. As a result, all the other organs get energy and they become active. So, with that, we develop awareness of every organ. If something is going on in the stomach, for example, or in the liver or in the pancreas, we'll be immediately able to feel it. Oh, this food I ate, and because of that, this is happening to me. And you become so sensitive that whenever you look at the color of the food, a smell of the food itself, you become very sensitive and you feel, oh, this food is not for me. To that extent, we develop awareness about everything that is happening around us. The pranayama that we do not only purifies the body, supplies more prana, and also it purifies our mind. We call it as chitta shuddhi. So in order to understand the absolute reality, our ultimate reality, first thing that is required is chitta shuddhi. That is purification of the mind, which every psychologist insists. Therefore, whenever the consciousness refers to the individual awareness of unique thoughts, memories, feelings, sensation, etc., we become highly sensitive. And also, many people, when they sleep, some of them who are in advanced sadhana, they will know that they are sleeping. The deep sleep, they become aware. And also, whenever there is a dream, they also have dream in a dream. To that extent they become very sensitive. Therefore, the consciousness is awareness of ourself and the world around us. This awareness, again, is very subjective. Awareness I get may be different from the awareness you get. As a result, it's only a subjective one. Philosophers in the time of Descartes and others, they struggle to comprehend the nature of this consciousness. The study of consciousness helps scientists shed light on the inner work of psychology and also perception and neural activity. Therefore, issues of interest in consciousness research include phenomena such as perception. What I perceive, what you perceive, it may be different. For example, say if there is uh, the best example every Vedantin say is serpent and the rope. There is no sufficient light. There is some object like which looks like a snake. Immediately we get scared of it. But when we switch on the light, we come to know that it is not the snake, but it is only the rope. Everything is like that. So this perception depends on my previous experience. Whatever I've gone through in previous days, that will give me that will give me the gnana of whatever I'm seeing today. Therefore, the perception of everyone is very important. It has been defined in the following ways: this perception and also the consciousness, as it is the awareness, it is the subjective one, ability to experience or to feel, and it is the wakefulness everybody experiences. So, in the 17th century, the philosopher called John Locke, he was the first one to speak and write about consciousness. He asserted that our consciousness is not tied to our physical bodies. It can survive even after our physical bodies die. This was something very shocking to the psychologists and also others at that time. There he talks about that subtle body, that is the Sukshma Sharira. So many of you have learnt about this, that we have the gross body, then we have the Sukshma Sharira, the subtle body. When this body dies, the Sukshma Sharira is still alive. It carries all the impressions and it goes from one body to the other body. As a result, whatever the impressions the Sukshma Sharira carries, it will go to the other body, and this Sukshma Sharira, it keeps roaming until it finds the suitable body as per its karma. So, according to philosophers, we choose our parents so that there is dissipation of karma. As a result, what happens is the Sukshma Sharira is moving from one body to the other body, and it carries all the impressions from one life to the other life. And this was first proposed by John Locke in the 17th century. So he was a psychologist, also a philosopher. There's no much difference between philosophy and psychology. Psychology is also nothing but a branch of philosophy. Therefore, he said that the Sukshma Sharira carries this consciousness from one body to the other body. And also, Rene Descartes, he said the consciousness resides within an immaterial domain he called the realm of thought and also realm of extension. And he said the Sukshma Sharira carries this. He also supported this. But according to modern theories of consciousness, the development psychologists view consciousness not as a single entity at all. What they say is it is a development process with potential higher stages of cognitive, moral, and spiritual quality. That is what they say. The consciousness depends on our spiritual quality, the moral and cognitive ability also. Therefore, from the ultimate standpoint, absolute consciousness did not become the world as psychologists say. Again, it is refuted. Absolute consciousness did not become this world. It only appears to have done. In order to explain all these phenomena, there came up another theory called theory of everything. It's like, one tablet for all the ailments. In the theory of everything, what happened is it is called the final theory or ultimate theory or unified theory, which encompasses all these concepts. But Stephen Hawking, he said it would be very difficult to construct a complete unified field theory of everything at all. So he said that we have made progress, no doubt, but it's not possible to explain everything based on theory of everything. This idea is expressed in all paradigms like scientific, psychological, spiritual, and also religious. In the scientific world, it is known as unified theory or unified field. In psychology, it is described as collective consciousness. In spirituality, it is known as universal consciousness. So, for classical Advaita Vedanta, Brahman is the fundamental reality underlying all objects and experiences, and Brahman is explained as pure existence, pure consciousness, and pure bliss, that is Sat Chit Ananda. And all forms of existence presuppose a knowing self. Brahman or pure consciousness underlies the knowing self. Hindu scriptures describes ultimate reality as Brahman. So till now, psychologists, scientists, biologists, all of them, they try to define the ultimate reality, but they were not able to explain it completely. But Hindu scriptures describe ultimate reality as Brahman. And Brahman is non dual, pure consciousness, indivisible, infinite, all pervading like the sky. Brahman is one of the nature of existence, knowledge, and bliss. And Brahman is the self, and self is the Brahman. So all the Mahavakyas talk about this Tattvamasi, I am Brahmasmi. All of them talk about this absolute reality or uh, ultimate reality. According to Acharya Shankara, the ultimate reality is Brahman or the self, which is pure reality, pure consciousness, pure bliss. It's also supported by this. The world has come into being from Brahman and is wholly dependent on it. The criteria of reality are immutability and permanence. Since the world is constantly changing and since its existence is not absolute but dependent on Brahman, the world is called illusion. So the concept of Maya also came there. The spiritual liberation is achieved not by only ritual action, which is for those of people who are the starters, but by eradicating the ignorance or avidya that sees the illusory multiplicity of the world. This is what is very important for us. What we see around, we think that everything is real, we take everything so much to our heart. Suppose there is an event that is happening which is good for us or not good for us, we completely are drawn towards that. If something is not good that is happening to us, we are in deep grief and deep depression, and we feel that everything is lost. But this is again a part of life, and in the next moment, the grief may disappear and some new thing may happen. And it all depends on how we perceive as what is permanent and what is impermanent. So, here, every philosopher, every Vedantin say that You are not the body, you are not the mind. And in Nirvana Shataka, Acharya Shankara very clearly says, Mano Buddhyahankara Chittani Naha. It's very difficult to practice, right? So, how do we achieve this? Suppose there is a pain in hand, let us say. How do we not get involved in that or succumb to that? Can we see the pain as an observer does? Keep on watching the pain and ask the question, who is feeling the pain? Is the body going through some change, or is the pain going in my mind and emotion? Who is going through this pain? Every person who went to Sri Ramana, talk about their problems, pain, and so on, he would ask them, who is that feeling the pain? You go to the source of who is that. I, go to the source of I. Everybody, every Vedantin says, go to the root of the problem and go to that who is feeling the pain, who is feeling the pleasure. Go to the root of it. So, this is what the Acharya Shankara said the criteria of reality are immutability and permanence. And since the world is constantly changing, nothing is permanent. So, why there is a suffering? There is a suffering because we think that the suffering is permanent and it is I who is going through that. Go to the root of what is that I. This is because of the ignorance we have, assuming that I am the body. So, if there is a pain in the body, I am suffering. That I am, who is that I am? That we need to always analyze it. And also, Acharya Shankara, when talking about ultimate reality, he also talks about time, space, causality belonging to the empirical world, that is, whatever is visible to us, but do not, all of them do not belong to Brahman because they are constantly changing. So, how do we get rid of all these habits? So, one exercise, what I have done, and also is my experience that take the childhood photograph of yours until now, all the photographs, make a collage. Keep on watching how you were at the age of, say, few months, how you were at the age of 1, at the age of 5, at the age of 10, and so on. And how do you look now? Are you the same? How do you feel it? How do you look like now? How were you 10 years ago? How were you 20 years ago? And so on. So when you make a collage and see, there is a change in every photograph, is it not? Each photograph is different, but still you are the same. That means the body is going through the change. But what is not going through the change? The witness that is inside me is not going through the change. The witness doesn't participate in anything. What witness is doing, it's only throwing light on the thought, throwing light on the emotion, and it is just showing what is happening inside the microcosm, and it is not participating. So if you look at these photographs, then you will feel that, oh, there are so many changes in my appearance. The body has gone through so many changes. The black hair that I had now has become gray hair. And I was so beautiful at that age. Now I am like that. All these comparisons we make will tell us that this is not permanent. I'm not the body because this keeps changing. Likewise, my mind is changing. What I was thinking 1 second ago and what I'm thinking now is entirely different. Means my thoughts are changing, they are not permanent. My emotions are changing. I was happy 1 second ago, I'm not happy now, or I was not happy 1 second ago, again, I'm happy now. There is a change that's happening in my emotion. Likewise, there's so many changes that are happening and nothing is permanent. That means beyond all that, there is something which is never changing, which is permanent, and everybody is looking for that. An entire world, everyone is looking for happiness, unalloyed bliss. Everyone is looking for that, but we don't know how to search, where to search, how to discover it. We need not get happiness from outside, it's already there within us. So, the sadhana that we do, it will help us in getting rid of all these ajnana, that is ignorance we have. It helps us in discovering the self. And this is what we need to do every day, every minute, then and there, so that we are able to realize what is the reality. Therefore, the time appears to be flowing from past to present to future. Here, there is an interesting thing. Something has happened, say, yesterday. If you recall that, it becomes present. Then, how do you say it was past and it is present? There is no past, no present, no future. This is what Shankara says. There is no time. Time is only an illusion, which Einstein also accepted that time is only an illusion. So, the modern physics, Advaita Vedanta, and our experience, all of them say time is an illusion. It's only the time as per our external world, which we have to interact, we need time and all that. And according to Vedanta, creation is a projection. Therefore, Upanishad calls ultimate reality or consciousness as the truth behind apparent truth of phenomenal universe. Why we call it as phenomenal universe is it appears. What appears is keep changing. So it is a phenomenal universe. It also describes ultimate reality as smaller than the smallest and greater than the greatest. You must have heard of Andoraniyana, Mahato Mahiyana. This is what we mean by the smaller than the smallest and bigger than the greatest. The modern physicist asserts that the consciousness of a scientist is directly responsible for the ultimate knowledge of the external reality, brings them almost to the door of Vedanta. So, if you just study the history of modern physics, all those physicists who were all searching for this almost came up to the theory of Vedanta. And one to mention, Heisenberg, one of the physicists, he also had come to India. He was always drawn towards East in order to understand modern physics, that is quantum physics. So what he was doing is he came to India. He also met Rabindranath Tagore. He discussed lot of this Advaita Vedanta philosophy and so many more things. And he finally said, "I got the answer for everything for so many days. What questions I had, I found the answer in East." So he was the one who came very close to Advaita Vedanta in order to explain his uncertainty principle, duality, and so on. He was able to explain it based on this. Therefore, the Upanishads talks about the ultimate reality. Then also, when they were talking about pralaya, pralaya is the dissolution of the entire universe. Is there something that stays after pralaya? Was the question. Everything gets destroyed. Sushti, Sthiti, Laya. Laya is that pralaya, when everything gets destroyed, will something remain? For this question, the only answer is only Vedas remain after pralaya and everything else undergo dissolution. Only Vedas remain. And therefore, Vedas are the ultimate reality which will remain forever. And Vedas, they are called Apaurisheya, because it's not given by any Purusha, a Manusha, and it is the divine voice that talks about everything that is happening in the universe. Therefore, the modern physicist asserts that the consciousness of the scientist is responsible for understanding the ultimate reality, and everyone's search is to find this ultimate reality, which in turn, as our Guru Garu says, everybody has some vasana called Atma Vasana. What is this Atma Vasana? We want happiness. All of us want happiness. All of us want have unalloyed bliss. This is what our Guru Galu calls it as Atma Vasana. We're all drawn towards that unalloyed bliss. Ananda. Everybody is drawn on towards Ananda, but we have lost our way because we don't have the right path to go towards that absolute bliss. Therefore, the sadhana that we do, every step by step, the sadhana that we do, when the chitta shuddhi happens, we are drawn more and more towards that, towards our ananda. That's what the nature of reality is. The nature of reality could only be known by the intuitive power of a purified mind, which every psychologist ascertains. Same thing happened when they describe consciousness. The modern theory of consciousness says that the purified mind, the intuitive mind, can absorb this ultimate reality. The sadhana reveals that there is a witness. I think all of you have experienced that there is a witness. Atma Sakshi. ಯಾರನ್ನು ಕೇಳಿದಾಗ ಒಂದು ಆತ್ಮ ಸಾಕ್ಷಿ ಇಲ್ವಾ? Everybody talks about that Atma Sakshi. What is that? That is the witness which will say what, which will show us what is happening here in our mind and in our thought, in our emotion. The nature of reality could be understood, realized only by a person who is going through this kind of sadhana and also with lot of shraddha in it and purified mind. The sadhana reveals that there is a witness who is ever active, who is ever active, shines light on every thought and feeling. Again stressing so much on this. It is showing the light on every thought and feeling. We cannot say unknowingly I did something. We cannot say that because that Sakshi is throwing the light of everything that is happening inside. So we are aware of our thought. We are aware of our emotion. And before we talk, the dialogue already we know what is it I'm going to talk. That is the awareness we develop when the sadhana is done. This self effulgent, unattached. What is it unattached? That is called asanga. It's not attached to the body, not attached to the mind, not attached to any of these. That is why it is called asanga. I'm not attached to any of these. Then it is the Shuddha Chaitanya. It is the Atma Swarupa, which is a witness to all the three states. What is it, all the three states? Jagrat, I'm aware of it. Swapna, I'm aware of it. Sushupti, Sushupti, my mind may not be aware I'm in deep sleep, but the witness which is inside is aware of the deep sleep because after we get up from the sleep, we say, yes, I had a wonderful sleep. How do we experience that wonderful sleep when we are in deep sleep? When we are in deep sleep, we may not realize it, but when we get up, we say, I had a wonderful sleep. This shows that that witness is active. That witness is Sakshi, which is telling us, yes, you had a very good sleep. And the sleep, the dream, we remember every dream. In the dream, so many things happen, but the minute we wake up, the whole world, whatever we see in the dream, disappears. So the Adi Shankara says, what you see in the world is also a dream. Of course, all these concepts need a lot of sadhana practice to realize what is happening around us is also a dream because we are always immersed in that. Therefore, this kind of sadhana gives us the gnana, the knowledge, and also gives as a question, who am I? Nan yaru? Who am I? And this reveals the ultimate reality, the truth. Who am I? Now we go into silence because I don't know who am I. Should I know who am I by my intellect? The intellect will not help me. Do I know who am I by my emotion? That will not help me. The thought will not help me. But who will help me? Only the silence will help me to tell me who am I. What is that silence? Cessation of all the thoughts. Cessation of all the thoughts. How do I achieve it? The easiest method, easiest method, just sit in one place. We keep on observing the breath. Observe the breath. It is going in, going out, going in, going out. Can we just spend 5 minutes on this? Go to silence, please. Take a deep breath, deep breath. Inhale and exhale. Then casual breath, inhale and exhale. Keep on observing the breath. If any thought appears, just observe the thought. Let it be. Don't accept the thought, don't reject the thought, just observe the thought. Let it be. Your witness is observing the thought. Focus on the breath. Focus on the center of your chest. Focus on the space in the center of your chest. There is a space called Hridayakasha. Be with that Hridayakasha. Inhale and feel the expansion of the space. Exhale. Inhale, feel the expansion of the space in the heart. Visualize the light in your heart, Hridayakasha. The light is expanding with each breath. It's growing, light is growing bigger with each breath. It's growing bigger and bigger. Your whole body is illuminating. The light is expanding, filling your room where you're sitting, filling your house completely, filling your locality, filling the entire city, filling entire country. It's growing bigger and bigger, surrounding the globe, becoming bigger, going to the space. You're only that light, pure white light. You're only that light, only that Atma Swarupa, Gnana, that Chaitanya. You are Ananda, the pure, unalloyed bliss. So slowly from the universe, slowly travel back slowly to the globe. You filled the space with the light. Fill the globe with that white, pure light. Whole country with that pure white light. Whole city with that pure white light. Your locality with that pure white light. Your sweet home with a pure white light. Your room with a pure white light. Every cell of your body with pure white light. That bliss, every cell is vibrating with that Ananda. You are Ananda. That Ananda, bliss, it is that ultimate reality, absolute consciousness, absolute reality. Be immersed in that ananda for some more time. Take a deep breath. Become aware of your surroundings and yourself. Rub your palms. Place them on your eyes and face and slowly open your eyes. Thank you so much for your patient hearing. I don't know if I've gone too high in science and all that. If there are any questions, please ask me. Because when we talk about objective reality, it's very necessary to talk about science and philosophy. Thank you so much, Vani and Vasu, for this opportunity. Thank everyone being with me. Thank you so much.